Okay, guys, I hope that you didn't wait too long. I actually screwed up with the last one that I didn't change the thumbnail before, so I hope to change it once it fully uploads. I hate it with YouTube; they have to wait for that. In any case, I think some of you are probably sports fans. Probably not all of you. I know that, for example, I don't really like golf. I never could get into it. Sorry if you guys are golf fans. I don't understand it. I used to work with a guy who was a huge golfer, and I never really got it, and I don't think I ever will. But I respect the golf community. I know a lot of people are really into the sport. I personally kind of respect tennis a little more. I think tennis is like an amazing sport. I don't really watch it that much either. Truth is, I really probably my favorite sports are baseball, football, and then I don't know what else would come after that. Soccer would probably come after that. Maybe basketball. It's college basketball for sure. But Tiger Woods in the news. Tiger Woods, of course, I've been following a little of what's been happening with his career lately. It's that for a long time he was in this real funk due to the whole banging a lot of sluts gate, which I don't really think is a big scandal, except for the fact that he ended up getting his ass kicked by his wife, which too bad for him and her, I guess. And then he ended up going out with Lindsey Vonn, who I guess got into some political trouble herself because she's like, was it Lindsey Vonn? I might be wrong. Could be it was a different skier. But look, I think that Tiger Woods, obviously a trailblazer first of all, people talk about him being racially a big deal because yes, he was the first major black golfer to win a lot of tournaments. But for a long time, he was one of the best golfers in the world. So, and he's actually coming back onto the good, into the good graces of the golf community due to his performance, as opposed to, just groveling before people for, his sex addiction, which was, if people really, really, really were to judge Tiger Woods by, you're having a lot of affairs. I mean, look, he was the best paid golfer for years, and well, what do you want him to do with the money? I remember Norm Macdonald made the greatest comment. He's like, I would never believe that such a multi-millionaire would pal around and bang a lot of loose ladies. I don't exactly have the joke like exact verbatim, but that was the extent of it. It was one of the best. One of the best. He's like, do you mean to tell me? Do you mean to tell? Well, welcome back, Ryu. Do you mean to tell me that Tiger Woods, this multi-millionaire athlete, likes to bang a lot of ladies, likes to pal around with a lot of ladies? That was one of the best. So anyway, the new controversy is this. Has nothing to do with banging a lot of sluts, which was, let's face it, that's what a multimillionaire superstar athlete does. It has to do with this.
The winner's circle. 1 week it's the driver, then it's the irons. This week it was the putter again. Now all eyes head to Boston as Tiger gets yet another chance to win again on the PGA Tour. After Tiger's round, the questions went a little further than just golf.
Your relationship with Donald Trump, how would you describe that professionally and personally?
Well, I've known Donald for a number of years. We've played the golf together, and we've had dinners together, and so yeah, that's I've known him, pre-presidency and obviously during his presidency. At
a time, especially 2018, I think a lot of people, especially people of color, immigrants, feel threatened by him, by his policies. He's thrown himself into sports debates in terms of race with LeBron James, with the anthem. What do you say to people who might find it interesting and, I guess, a friendly relationship with him?
Well, he's the president of the United States, and you have to respect the office. And no matter who's in the office, you may dislike, the personality or the politics, but we all must respect the office.
Do you have anything more broadly to say about the state, I guess, the discourse of race relations?
No, I just finished 72 holes and really hungry.
Well, President Donald Trump took this opportunity to tweet. The fake news media worked hard to get Tiger Woods to say something that he didn't want to say. Tiger wouldn't play the game. He's very smart. More importantly, he is playing great golf again.
Yeah, I think that was a fair response on Tiger Woods' part. I mean, I don't know if it really helps that Trump tweeted back, but we're going to get into some of the other stuff. Before we get to the Max Kellerman bitch eruption, let's play the Norm Macdonald clip just so we don't forget this. I will play this with just the audio, but you'll be able to hear it.
Hey, it's great to be here in San Francisco. This is the first week of the golf, and Tiger is my favorite golfer ever, and he's, he went to Stanford, if you guys don't know that, which is awesome. And I'm hoping this is his year, man, because I feel bad for the guy, and God damn, it's too bad that happened and everything. And, whatever. I just hope he does good, that's all I'm saying. It was funny, at the time it happened, you get so, naive about things, you know what I mean? Like I remember I was, outraged and everything. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, I don't know what I thought his life was, but I remember at the time going, what? I don't believe you. Are you telling me, are you trying to tell me that guy is worth $6 billion? You're telling me that the world's greatest athlete over there, Tiger Woods, you're telling me that guy, that super handsome, charismatic dude, likes to lie down with ladies? I don't buy it. I don't buy that for 1 second. Doesn't make any sense. And then when it turned out to be true, I was all outraged like an idiot, So I was like, I don't like hypocrites. I don't care for that. He always presented himself in public as a golfer. I would see him on TV be hitting a golf.
Yeah, that's enough. You can probably. I'll put that in the chat. I don't want Norm Macdonald to be. Actually, I think this is somebody else who ripped off Norm Macdonald. So I'm not even ripping off his entire thing. I don't think he's worth $1 billion. By the way, Shiska. I really. You know what? Tiger Woods may one day be $1 billion athlete, the same way that Michael Jordan is. So let's cut into this. This is the clip that a lot of people are talking about, and I hope I don't get a strike for it. So fair use. And by the way, my channel is not monetized anyway. I've never monetized my channel, so and I don't even know if I do have the option, but I've never done it just because I heard there's no point. So fair use, 100%. Let's hear Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith.
I want to say something about what Tiger Woods said.
Okay,
now.
go ahead.
It really bothers me. I am angry at what Tiger Woods said because it is a thoughtless statement dressed up as a thoughtful statement, and it either
it really bothers me that some people don't think the way I think, especially people who are superstar athletes who have accomplished more than I could ever dream of.
holds in contempt the intelligence of the people who hear it, or else it's just a stupid thing to say. Let me tell you what I mean. If to say that the office, you must have respect for the office. Tiger, be clear. Are you saying that the office therefore confers respect onto its occupant, its present temporary occupant? No. Having respect for the office means, principally, in my view, is the office holder should have respect for the office. Well, we are all set to a standard. We're held to a standard of behavior. We at our jobs, right? People in their daily lives. The president, if anything, is held to a higher standard of behavior. It is not such that we have such great respect for the office that no matter what the behavior of its occupant, we must therefore respect its occupant because of the office. No, Tiger Woods you said being slick. Here he's being slick. We must respect the office, therefore that confers respect to the occupant. Tiger, is that what you're saying?
Okay, so everybody is held to a certain standard by their position in which they work. Therefore, I would assume that people who are involved in the sports media would engage in discussions about sports. But we're not talking about sports. Somebody, for some reason, dragged Tiger Woods, tried to drag him kicking and screaming into a political debate. And Tiger Woods wasn't having that. He was thinking, I've had enough trouble basically poon hunting all these years that I'm done. I don't really care about anything except for playing golf and making sure that I don't end up losing more money in another divorce settlement with whoever I'm married. I don't even know if he's married to Lindsey Vonn, by the way. And I couldn't care less. And we shouldn't care because Tiger Woods is a high performer in a rich man's sport. Yes, he's made golf more accessible in terms of viewership to a lot of people, but it still costs a lot of money to play golf. And to go to a golf tournament also would probably be, a lot of people, if you think about it, the entire game of golf simply isn't in their budget, whether it's as a player, whether it's as a spectator, an active spectator. It just makes no sense to really give a shit what somebody like Tiger Woods says about golf. NASCAR, for example. But by the way, there was a whole, I don't remember what the guy's name is. I think it was like Chase Daly or something. There was a guy, a NASCAR driver, who was recently stripped of a sponsorship because of a racial conversation that his dad had over 30 years ago. His dad on the radio, and this guy wasn't even born yet. So you want to talk about who's supposed to be fulfilling their position? Max Kellerman? How about people getting their sponsorship stripped for something they didn't even do, that their dad did before they were born? That wasn't, and from what I heard, the guy wasn't even being racist. He was discussing a racial issue.
If that's what you're saying, that is a stupid comment. I don't even know if he believes that that's what he's saying.
Well, first of all, we don't know what Tiger Woods believes. He's Camblinasian. He's not black. When he got arrested, he was black. He was listed as black on the report. So let's understand that. Tiger Woods, that's the issue that the African-American community has always had, because obviously from an historical perspective, if 1/3 of you has a darker hue, a darker pigmentation, the bottom line is you are black, and it is that simple. And you get it, and it ain't even 1/3. I'm just throwing that out there. 1/8, exactly. So what I'm saying to you is that clearly you are perceived as being a black man. And even though you didn't want to disassociate yourself from your mother's ethnicity, who was Thai, I believe, the bottom line is that that's the reason why he took that position. But black Americans haven't respected that for Tiger for quite some time. They haven't heard Tiger speak on a plethora of issues pertaining to having a social consciousness on many, many occasions. That is something that people have lamented as well. But as it pertains to this particular statement, again, I'm not going to take it as far as him conferring, as you would say, to respect the president itself, even though you're playing golf with him and all of that other stuff, considering how divisive people consider him to be. What I'm saying is, I think as American citizens, I'm thinking about congressmen, I'm thinking about senators, I'm thinking about elected officials, I'm thinking about the checks and balances in our democratic society that we have in place to police and to check this individual.
What the fuck is he talking about? How does this have anything to do with Tiger Woods?
To mention the fact that you have people, not just in the media, but beyond. We have several avenues to bring the ire of our nation upon this man because of how we see him conduct himself. But in the process of doing so, we have an obligation to be responsible with our rhetoric and beyond.
No, he has a greater responsibility. He's failing that responsibility.
No one's questioning
But see, this is what I'm saying about Tiger that I don't like.
I'm just saying I totally agree with you about what you're saying with Trump's ultimate responsibility.
Right.
I'm just talking about Tiger.
Right, but here's what I don't like about Tiger. Tiger, if you want to say, I respect this guy, say it. If you want to say, you continue to socialize with him, or you socialized or play golf with him in the past, or you won't say something negative, or you won't stand up. Say that because you like him or because you respect him. Say that. Don't try to play this shell game where you say, well, the office, it's not that you have to respect the person, but you must respect the office. Because, Tiger, then what you're saying, without saying it, he's saying, but the office confers respect onto the person. If not, it's a meaningless statement.
But you're saying that, but here's where I'm coming from, Max. I remember in 2000 when Al Gore went up.
Well, I want people, this is the picture, this is Molly Karam in the middle. And this is a show that I probably used to watch a little more, although I probably never watched a full episode. But that Molly Karam is in the middle saying, are you really throwing this bitch fit and I'm supposed to sit here and like listen to this crap? It's like Tiger Woods can say whatever the fuck he wants or not say anything. He can say, if he wanted to say the question, he'd be like, no, I want to talk about the golf game. I want to talk about all those holes I filled. You know, Tiger Woods is about one thing, filling holes, filling a lot of fucking holes.
I'm coming from, Max. I remember in 2000 when Al Gore went up against George W. Bush. And obviously, you know, don't get me started with how that went down and how George W. Bush ended up being the president of the United States. People were in an absolute uproar. After a few days, the nation was called upon to respect our system, to respect what goes on in our country, how we handle it, and we were reminded of the democracy that we are and how things are cyclical. It ain't a dictatorship. He ain't gonna be there forever. You can get him up out of there in 4 years if you want to. You can get him up out of there in 8 years, you know, at the most. This is how you look at things sometimes, and I think that that's right. And if you're called upon to do that on many occasions, because there's plenty of times where black folks have had a problem with some of the things that are going on in our nation and some of the elected officials that ended up in office. And we were called upon to respect our society, to respect our democratic system, and to respect the office, even while spewing vitriol at the individuals because of their actions.
It's fine to say respect the office. I don't mind that. But
That's
the
all I'm
way
saying.
Tiger is using the phrase, as I said, he's being slick about it. He's saying, respect the... Why do I continue to socialize with this person? Because I respect the office, and therefore you must respect the person because the office confers respect to the person. No, it doesn't.
He's trying not to upset anyone. The people that respect the president don't, and that's why he was strategic in using the word the office. He's just turned his image around. He plays golf. I know what he's trying to do here.
Yeah, this woman is like, and I've seen response after response to this, and the reason that I'm covering it today, you know, there's other people who've put together some pretty decent responses. Quartering, Anthony Logan, who else? Mark Dice had a great one. I like Mark Dice because he does it really short and sweet, and I'm not capable of doing that. I really have to dive into stuff. The reason I'm doing this is because it is really ironic in light of what else is going on at ESPN that they find the time to criticize Tiger Woods on stuff he doesn't want to talk about, when they're actually losing a lot of money and audience engaging in these conversations that Tiger Woods has wisely decided not to get into. Look, there's, I mean, let's add another thumb there, but there's I think, look, it's almost a 5-to-1 dislike to like ratio.
Oh, yeah, he's an international figure because he's globalized. He's traveling all over the world to play golf, like you just pointed out, Molly. He's got his checkered history. He knows he's been seen with Trump, et cetera, et cetera. And more importantly, we don't bring this up enough. There are a lot of people out there, no matter how appalled they are by this man in office, there is this ingrained belief that that's in-house stuff, even though it obviously is not. To speak ill of your president outside of this nation is almost sacrilegious to a lot of people.
Well, let me just say quickly. If Tiger meant what he said, that is a thoughtless comment. There's nothing really contained there. It's a stupid comment. If he didn't mean what he said, if what he's doing is actually playing it safe, then me and people like me are offended by the comment because you're playing on our intelligence.
And that's fair.
You're talking as though we're all stupid.
And it was well articulated. He has never been one that wanted to be socially conscious and clear.
I'm going to respond to Max Kellerman, because if you think that if he's being smart about it, that you should be offended, or you and people like you should be offended, then me and people like me think that you're being a little bitch and that you need to, take some of that Midol for your PMS. Honestly, it's like impossible to manage with these people. And I guess we're going to have to go to this.
New York's a state, my city's in. A man who I hate, I pity him like a Branch Davidian. Got skills, got stamina, got hands of stone like the champ from Panama. Bodies drop for body shots, cause I could box. No need for clocks or karate chops. And if you wanna see who the best be, come and test me, come and test me, come and test me. Gotta start 'em, clock get stuck from the clock to the big bull yard in the South Bronx. My flavor's good, my flavor's good. Hair city, you're nothing but my neighborhood. New York, so nice, got named twice, and I'm harassing punks like Mike Tyson. And I'll break a novice worse than Pernell Whitaker. Snuff Chavez. Display skills like a museum so you can see him. And rappers go fleeing, though my skin's European. Hit your man with a hook in the head, don't even jab it. And beat you with just my left hand like Jim Mavic. It gets scarier and scarier. Got props on every block of the Triborough area. King of my concrete jungle. Rumble, young man, rumble. Rumble, young man.
So yeah, that was Max Kellerman making, that's Max Kellerman, Ravi Shishka, that's him. And that wasn't a bad rap song, except for the fact that he insensitively in 1994 made a joke about Waco, talking about the Branch Davidians, where a lot of black children and adults died in an FBI raid of a compound. So I mean, I guess we should ask 1994 Max Kellerman if Black Lives mattered, like he says right now. Dude looks like a retard. I mean, give him credit. That was back in the 90s when we all looked like dumbasses. But the music was a little better back in the 90s, I would say. So I said, in light of what's been going on at ESPN, it's very ironic that Max Kellerman wants to climb back into the bitch boat at ESPN, the bitch boat that's going down, because Michelle Beadle has been removed from Get Up, which is that's the ESPN morning show. Get Up should probably be the Playboy Channel morning show, and I think we all know what that means. So it says so they have this fat ass mourning this on Jamel Hill, Michelle Beadle, and the football arguments ESPN avoids. It says where so much programming thrives on starting and stoking arguments, seems determined to spare itself from debates it feels it can't afford. Talk about pro and college football along with games will dominate its offering in the coming months. Absent will be the big picture beyond the field perspectives of Jamel Hill and Michelle Beadle. Let me tell you something. I don't know much about Michelle Beadle. I heard she's kind of this feminist idiot, but Jamel Hill only cares about putting her name in the headlines. She's not actually into anything besides putting her name into the headlines. She has, I don't remember where's that, let me see here. There's the Jamel Hill. There's this photo of her, which I find just so ironic. This isn't the one, but it's close to it. So here we go. This is almost there's a different photo of her at the same event wearing a Sprite t-shirt in front of a Hennessy sponsored BET poster board or whatever you call it. And that's basically Jamel Hill. She's a corporate whore. And I don't care if I don't care in what sense it comes out. Okay, I've always Jamel Hill is really has a meteoric career, and I mean meteoric by the fact that 2 years ago, nobody knew who the hell she was, except for, there were a couple controversies with her before that, but nobody knew who Jemele Hill was, especially under President Obama, because literally everybody was kissing Obama's ass at the time. So she fit in with everybody else. And she was just the same as any other SJW reporter out there. But now she became kind of a household name because she's using the platform afforded to her by ESPN, although not anymore apparently, to push her own personal views and basically point fingers at everybody else as a racist or as some sort of ignorant jackass or something. And Jemele Hill, and I've always, for example, she always has that cringeworthy smile on her face all the time. She's basically, I'm not going to criticize all of her looks, but I will say that she looks very unbecoming. And I don't care if you know what? You look at some of the other hosts on TV, especially on Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith looks like he's balding and is really losing his mind. So that evens it out. You look at Max Kellerman, also looks like he's aging all the time. The most youthful person on that stupid show, besides Molly Karam, who looks fantastic, is Will Cain. You have some of these other people on ESPN, Tony Kornheiser, who looks like he should have been buried and a tombstone on top of him years ago. Michael Wilbon, I guess, hasn't changed. He looks the same as he ever was. I will say Michael Wilbon is probably a little more intelligent than the people we're talking about today, but nobody cares anymore because his show isn't that great. Pardon the interruption. Plus, I don't really watch ESPN anymore anyway, so maybe he is just as bad as the other people. So let's keep reading. Hill is leaving ESPN's The Undefeated under what appear to be amicable terms. Get Up co-host Beadle is being reassigned also under favorable circumstances. But the upshot is Hill, who may have become a lightning rod for controversy when she tore into President Donald Trump on Twitter last year, but didn't get suspended until she suggested a sponsor boycott as a way for NFL fans to protest owners' treatment of protesting players, will be gone. And Beadle, who said she will avoid watching pro and college football for a second season in response to how those in and around the game treat and regard women, no longer will be required by ESPN to talk about sports. So that I didn't know that about Beadle. Maybe I've been focusing too much on Jemele Hill, because Michelle Beadle, if that's what she said, that she's going to avoid watching pro and college football because of the way men treat the men in the game treat and regard women, then I'm sorry, but it sounds like a valid stand, but it means you cannot be a sports commentator if some of the sports that you're supposed to comment about you're not even watching on principle. On principle. You have to be able to watch what you're talking about. Let's see here. Why are they censoring all of Ryu's comments? They look like 3 pounds of shit in a 2-pound bag. That's a good line. Ghetto Hood starter pack, 1 Sprite shirt, 1 bottle of Hennessy, and some J's. Look, I think that Jemele Hill, is just she is the classic corporate shill. There's nothing politically authentic about her. In getting to disembark from Get Up after Thursday's show, Beadle may be the luckiest person this side of the guy whose boat ticket Leonardo DiCaprio won at the beginning of the movie Titanic. No clinging to a door in uncertain icy waters for her. Beadle is giving up the South Street Seaport deck chair she never really wanted on Mike Greenberg's morning program, which has yet to find much of an audience or reason to exist 5 months after its launch. As if to say, sorry to have talked you into this, ESPN management has extended Beadle's contract and is moving her from New York back to Los Angeles. So I want people to understand this. What he's saying is that she has no reason to be blamed for the failure of that show. But in reality, that show was a colossal failure because of all three of the people on it. Jalen Rose, Michelle Beadle, and Mike Greenberg. Mike Greenberg, first of all, because he broke up a good duo that was very popular among a different demographic. Mike and Mike in the morning was very popular among, I think, more mature people, old farts that listen to ESPN radio. So why ruin a good thing? If Mike Greenberg and Mike, what's the other guy's name? Mike Golick were so good, why would you break that up? It doesn't make any sense. So Beadle will continue as host of the NBA Countdown pregame show, which also returns to LA after relocating to New York in the middle of last season. In addition, she will take on the new postgame effort, NBA After the Buzzer. Yeah, I don't think that's really... Nobody watches regular season NBA anyway, so who cares? I guess it's a safe place to stick her. We're doubling down on our NBA studio content at a time when the NBA is red hot and fan interest continues to surge. All lies, all complete lies. Nobody gives a fuck about the NBA is basically a dumpster fire right now. All of the good teams are in one conference, and the majority of the attention is given to who gets traded and essentially who hates who. That's what the NFL is now. The NBA is now. As the basketball world looks to LA with renewed interest, we'll be right there to cover it. So basically, she's going to have her mouth, basically sewed to LeBron's asshole. That's basically what's going to be. That's basically what it's saying. And you know what? LeBron James, I would say you should probably get ready to, build a new room onto your house or something. It will probably get really annoying for him to see Michelle Beadle all the time, wherever he goes. Shell said ESPN remains very committed to Get Up, but at the same time, it's taking back one of the program's 3 hours each weekday as of Labor Day. So they're reducing its length. It's usually 3 hours. Now it's going to be 2 hours. So it's not very successful, and they're cutting one of the people out of it, and they're cutting out 1/3 of it. Smart Money says if there isn't significant growth over football season, ESPN will tell Get Up to get lost. Wow, very nice pun there. No one asked, but until the show generates its own excitement, it might want to ditch the last explanation, the explanation point from the title too. Get Up, see much. This guy's annoying. So then they're putting in more of these football people, and then they're putting in, I guess, the stand-in hosts: Maria Taylor, Laura Rutledge, Deanna Rossini, and Jen Lada. So I don't really care. I think that ESPN is really a sinking ship at this point. Beadle and Dolly knew she was getting airlifted out of Get Up when she last week declared she would avoid watching football after Ohio State's wrist slap of football coach Urban Meyer over how he dealt with allegations of domestic abuse by a member of his staff. I want to say something about this. I live in Ohio, and I know this might seem biased because I am an Ohio State fan. The head coach is not responsible for if his assistant coach had domestic violence issues with his wife. Now, because first of all, that's now look, okay, so if he would have witnessed it and he would have never reported it, I think that would be egregious. What I remember from the Urban Meyer case is that, and it's pretty fresh, is that his wife had known this, and people had asked, well, why didn't she tell, or are you sure that she didn't tell Urban Meyer? Now, I don't think that this merits a federal case against Urban Meyer, just using the expression federal case, because I know now that everybody's being indicted on the federal level, people take it literally. But look, Urban Meyer, if this had been like at Penn State, a case of child abuse, I think it would have been unforgivable, and he should be thrown into prison. And they should have destroyed the key. If Urban Meyer would have done that. Although I don't think that is a criminal penalty. But yeah, he should have definitely been fired if that had been the case. But spousal abuse charges, I think it's not the duty of the head coach to report that. Now, there are reports that Urban Meyer did know a little about this when him and Zach Smith, who was the head coach, were working at the University of Florida. So yeah, I definitely see a problem. I don't know if it's a fireable offense. Yeah, exactly, Ryu. Well, if you want to mix it up, have some other people comment. You're all free to comment. So yeah, the topic right now, of course, we were just talking about Tiger Woods being, value shaming by Max Kellerman. What a bunch of bullshit. And then you have Michelle Beadle saying, "Oh, because of Urban Meyer not getting fired, I'm not going to watch any NFL or college football." Okay, then don't comment on it. Don't be on a show that engages in commentary about football. Okay, that's your choice. Get the fuck out. Nobody. Look, a lot of people who have a problem with it, they choose not to watch it. But most of the people who do that don't have a job where part of it is commenting on a certain sport. If Beadle had said this on a show people watched in greater numbers, this would have resonated louder than it did. Every single one of these stories that comes out every single time pushes me further and further away, Beadle said. I realize they don't care, but for me, it has opened up my weekends. I appreciate you for giving that to me. I don't care anymore. I've lost the ability to be surprised. No, noting Ohio. So go be a reporter on something totally different. Be an environmental reporter. Why don't you report on some of the fucking pollution somewhere and work somewhere besides ESPN? Work on the algae bloom over in Florida, Michelle Beadle. Because your job is reporting on sports. Reporting on sports. It's not reporting on how things make you feel. Noting Ohio State only suspended Meyer for 3 games rather than firing him, and Meyer couldn't even pretend he meant a single word of the statement he read after the sanction was handed down, Beadle called the school's handling of the situation, quote, a disgrace. I'm just numb to it. Beadle said, I'm just ready for the NBA to kick off, quite frankly. That's what I'm here for. Well, okay, so I guess you're going to have to wait till late April when the NBA playoffs kick off. That's when there will be something that anybody cares about to report. Because the NBA season is going to be just a joke this entire year. By the way, the playoffs are also going to be mostly a joke. At least half of it is going to be a joke since the eventual winner is going to come from the West. Probably will still be the what do you call them? The Warriors. So Hill, meanwhile, will wind up somewhere else. Will wind up around somewhere else, despite the Trump supporters she has irked and those who feel there are no larger cultural overlapping political issues that should be discussed with sports. Look, nobody's saying that you have to completely hermetically seal off sports from everything else. But the fact is that you have people who they're on TV to discuss sports and they're not doing it. They're doing something completely different. They're discussing their personal political agenda, and the actual viewer is not tuning in for that. So ESPN has no obligation to keep people on because of some larger social commentary or vision of our country. Okay, that's all I can say. No matter how ESPN feels about the issues the one-time co-host of the SportsCenter edition branded The Six cares about, others are interested in exploring them and are not as conflicted about what that entails. Good. How about this? You work for the Chicago Tribune. Why don't you lobby the Chicago Tribune to invest money to form a sports network to cover the issues you want to cover, and then see how well you do. And then maybe we'll see if you do or don't understand what the issue is here. Because they're buying her out. That must mean that it's important enough for them to keep her not only off the air, but off of The Undefeated, which is an ESPN blogging platform. That's how important they think it is to have her just leave. One may wonder if Hill's exit speaks to ESPN's potentially diminishing appetite for, quote, for The Undefeated, a platform specifically geared to examine the nexus of sports, culture, and current events, under current management and circumstances. That's an understatement. The Undefeated is not just a nexus of sports, culture, and current events. It's a nexus specifically of sports and race. And that's not me saying it. That was their reason for being formed, I believe. Then again, maybe that's not deemed worth discussing, and one doesn't have to wonder at all. So yeah, this guy apparently doesn't realize that ESPN's job is not to basically change the world and create a better society. I'm actually reading a book, not very fast, but still reading it, called "Those Guys Had All the Fun," which is about ESPN. And that book basically encapsulates why they had success. They started playing games on their network that people couldn't see anywhere else, especially college basketball. There were college basketball games that people couldn't see that were reaching a large audience, and people around the country that were going to college were saying, "Oh my God, we finally have a network for us," and whatever. It had nothing to do with a social conscience. So that's what made ESPN big, covering sports that wasn't covered until then. And it was a great idea, and it would still be the same idea. Hit the coffee or covfefe to stay sharp. I said Golden State. What do you mean? I said the Warriors. Ryu? What did I say wrong? Yeah, I already had enough coffee today, man. I have to keep going. I don't have any more coffee here. So then they're having her speak at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical University, which is in, I guess it is in Greensboro. I thought that I didn't know that there's two different ones. There's UNC Greensboro is also in the same area. So I didn't know that there's two different state schools in Greensboro. Maybe UNC Greensboro used to be segregated only for white people because North Carolina A&T is an HBCU. But this is HBCU game day, which is I guess HBCU oriented sports podcast, and it says North Carolina. So HBCUs, for those that don't know, are historically black colleges and universities. And for her, she's basically an icon for them, even though she went to Michigan State, which is not an HBCU. North Carolina Agricultural and Technical University has tapped veteran journalist and soon-to-be former, I love how they put that in, soon-to-be former ESPN correspondent, columnist, and former co-host of the flagship Sports Center, Jamel Hill, to kick off the first Chancellor's Speaker Series of the 2018-19 academic year. Blah, blah, blah. Details where it is. If you want to go ahead. Hill, along with moderator, alumnus, but be civil, and NCAA Football Hall of Famer Daryl Clue, will discuss self-expression in sports, touching on current topics surrounding sports in America, social media, and life after sports. Born in Detroit, Michigan, Hill began her career covering Michigan State football and basketball. While there, she also covered the 2004 Summer Olympics and the NBA playoffs. It didn't take long for her career to skyrocket. Yeah, maybe I do wish I had some coffee. In 2006, she joined ESPN and began making regular appearances on various shows through the network's extensive programming. After teaming with fellow journalist Michael Smith on the popular podcast His and Hers, Hill and Smith eventually became evening anchors of SportsCenter. So that's a mistake there. Now, His and Hers, if you have a podcast, you make a podcast, the podcast can be about anything. And then if you have success with that, you don't necessarily take the same paradigm in the podcast and put it in a different show that has a completely different angle. Like SportsCenter, which was always was about highlights and entertainment. Shiska says, here's my business model for a sports network. Hot chicks, sports commentators that talk only sports, college football, and basketball. Will you think it will be a success? Yeah, it will be a success in a certain... Yeah, if you market it to the right people, absolutely. Look, I mean, let's be realistic. There are there are a lot of and you know, throwing in the hot chicks is one issue, but yeah, even if you, I mean, let's say you put in a tennis podcast that was only about women's tennis and how hot they are, that would be a successful podcast. I don't think you can make an entire sports network about it because look, you have to fill in programming and again, you have to, don't overestimate how many people are interested. So yeah, I think you could. I mean, the hot chicks angle is something that, you know, for certain sports it doesn't work, but I don't know how many hours of programming you could put into that. But it's a better idea than this. In 2007, Hill received the inaugural Van McKenzie Cup Award for boldly exemplifying the traits of the innovative sports editor for whom it is named. She credits McKenzie for her breakneck rise within sports journalism. Extremely familiar with the sports environment on and off the field. So then it goes into the other guy. And yeah, they're basically inviting somebody who's a textbook example of how to fail at the greatest level. Yeah, this is just from Bleacher Report that is documenting what happened, and you know, with her accepting the buyout, and Trump said, with Jemele Hill at the mic, it is no wonder ESPN ratings have tanked. In fact, tanked so badly it is the talk of the industry. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And this is the last one. So this is Clay Travis, whose show I sometimes listen to, which is, you know, the show isn't always good, but it's better than anything on ESPN. Much better than anything on ESPN. In fact, Outkick the Coverage is his show. So also bold, we cover weather. All our weather people are hot Brazilian women in little skirts. Yeah, I mean, I'll get behind that. That's 100%. I think Brazilian women are smoking hot, as long as they were born women. ESPN's new programming strategy seems clear now. Whatever decision former ESPN president John Skipper made, do the opposite. Good. Yep, ESPN is going full George Costanza now, doing the exact opposite of what would have been done before. On Friday afternoon, the typical time to drop news that isn't favorable, two big stories broke. Jemele Hill was leaving ESPN on September 1st, less than a year after her tweet calling the president a white supremacist, and roughly 6 months after she was removed from the 6 p.m. Sports Center. The report from Jim Miller said their departure was amicable. It might be amicable because she's getting a buttload of money. That might be so, but only because Jemele Hill was able to extract a substantial cash advance on her salary and will no longer be able to murder ESPN's brand with her consistent and shrill cavalcade of everything is racist takes on social media. ESPN finally decided, probably in conjunction with Disney CEO Bob Iger, who had long protected Hill as a way to help set the table for his presidential run, that continuing to employ Jemele Hill and rewarding her with airtime was helping to kill their brand with anyone who doesn't immediately see racism when the pot calls the kettle black. As if that weren't enough, Michelle Beadle, she of the infamous "shut up and listen, white men" hot take, was removed from Get Up. And I think she said that in response to, it might have been with Cam Newton and a female reporter or something. So yeah, that was that was a stupid episode too. I'm not as familiar with that episode though. She is getting like 6 million or 4 million, but still, that's a lot of money, man. That is a lot of money. What's more, Get Up was reduced from 3 hours to 2 hours, signaling that it's likely to be completely erased or folded into SportsCenter by the time football season is over. When you consider all that had to happen for Get Up to launch, 1, Mike and Mike, the most successful sports talk show in history, had to be broken up. 2, an expensive New York City studio had to be built. 3, SportsCenter, the most venerable brand in ESPN history, had to be canceled in the morning. So I didn't know they had to move it to New York City, because I guess traditionally it was in Bristol, Connecticut, which is the headquarters of ESPN. 4, Beto had to be pulled off Sports Nation, resulting in that show's cancellation. And 5, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars had to be lost all in the space of 6 months to launch and support the show. I'm not sure that John Skipper could have made worse decisions if he'd been attempting to destroy ESPN's brand. Combining this with the shortening of high noon from 1 hour to 30 minutes and the last three major initiatives, John Skipper was most closely connected to have now been erased since he resigned for substance abuse issues. Yeah, that's right. He was I think he was forced to, he decided to resign because he claimed he was addicted to coke or something, which is actually not, it's actually that's a reason to keep going, in my opinion. These changes in direction. So the reality is, I think that Clay Travis had made allegations that in reality he had a Me Too scandal that was going to break, and he wanted to get ahead of it and leave. These changes in direction represent a seismic shift for ESPN. The only wrinkle in this decision has been the hiring, it should be, of noted Donald Trump critic Keith Olbermann. But I suspect ESPN's focus here wasn't on Olbermann's left-wing mania, it was on his role at ESPN in the 1990s. Olbermann's hire was an attempt to send a message that ESPN was getting back to what made it great, even if, Olbermann long ago stopped being a sports figure. Yeah, I think what they've been trying to do is keep him as a baseball analyst, and you know what? There's plenty of good other baseball analysts. Why don't you give somebody new a chance? Now SC6 is dead, Get Up is close to dead, and High Noon is already on life support just a couple of months into its existence. All three of these were major news shows championed by John Skipper to lead ESPN into the new era. All of them also, not coincidentally, have also featured the most left-wing talent ESPN has to offer, and all of them have been resoundingly rejected by television viewers. This suggests, wait for it now, Twitter is not real life. So, you can read the rest of this. Here's a person saying, hate to break it to you, but there are a lot of us out there, many of us white, who like Jemele Hill and think ESPN should cover politics when it intrudes onto a sports story. So people are just like dunking on this guy. And this is a lot of response for somebody for an outkick the coverage article. Good riddance to Hill and Beadle. What else is here? So the author makes no bones he has a political agenda by bashing the left as being the idiots. I am 75, and in that time there has always been two parties, but they used to advise and consent what to do, what was best for the country. Most importantly, we all consider ourselves Americans. What we don't need is a sports writer injecting the political BS into our sports world. You know what the fuck you're talking about, because the truth is that Clay Travis is not a right winger. He's known as a Democrat. He just hates the fact that politics is in sports. Would it be okay if the sports media mixed sports and right-wing politics ad nauseum and used athletes to inject far-right politics into the consciousness of America? And this person says, get away from politics altogether. And nobody ever, nobody says yes. This person says right-wing athletes suck. This person says short answer is no. Yeah, these people are just attacking him or whatever. This is okay. So I think we've gone through enough of these takes. So the bottom line here is that Tiger Woods did the right thing, and he'll probably be remembered, or deservedly, for what he did on the golf course, and not for any of this bullshit that some of these other athletes are doing, where they're all the time, trying to be not just with politics. There are a lot of athletes. I remember originally, and this could have really ruined his career, that Shaquille O'Neal was trying to get into acting, like really heavily. And he had 2 or 3 movies that were just complete disasters. One of them was Steel, and the other one was Kazam. So I think that when you're an athlete and you know what's good for you, you try to use that, leverage it as much as you can, and then make as much money as you can, and then get endorsements. And I think Tiger Woods has done a great job of that with the Tag Heuer watch endorsement and everything. And you know, him and Roger Federer and all those, their first obligation is to their career, and then their second obligation is to whatever actual charity or cause or community they want to dedicate themselves to. But they don't have to basically weld the career to that cause. They can choose to just be the best athlete they can be, and then maybe do something with a civic consciousness wherever that might be. Hi, Desert Pioneer. Sorry, you're also reaching me at the end again. It's been 55 minutes. We've been on for 55 minutes. So I want to take this opportunity to say, okay, so we're done with the whole topic. Tiger Woods is right. Michelle Beadle and Jamel Hill, they're the cautionary tale that it's over. It's over. Michelle Beadle is probably going to be gone soon too. After probably sometime during the NBA season, if she keeps pulling these types of stupid virtue signaling idiocies that she's been doing. So yeah, that's basically what's been going on. Shiska says, the moral of the story is Tiger Woods banged many chicks and filled many holes, and ESPN sucks ass, and Max Kellerman is a mega bitch liberal soy boy that needs a maxing pad. You know what? That's basically a summary of the whole stream. I mean, Shiska did something that I think that this is his perfect niche. He can basically summarize the stream in 4 lines, as he did there, which is admirable. That's exactly what we talked about. If you missed the stream, and if you want, you can go back and listen to it, because there's some good gems in there, including some nice rap and Norm Macdonald. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. So I want you guys to join the mailing list that I want to put together. I don't know if it'll be that sophisticated. There's ways of making like really nice mailing lists, but you know, I don't have a lot of time generally. And you can see I'm streaming a little less, but yeah, send me your email, and maybe we can do these email alerts that are a little better. And I know some of you just aren't available all the time. I understand if you don't watch the show. You know, I don't always get to stream, so I mean it's a fair exchange. But yeah, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave your comment when it uploads, share the video. There's also a number of different social media platforms you can reach me at now. Some of these are not always going to be there. Like the Facebook, I don't check my Facebook page that much anymore. I believe I'm shadow banned anyway. So I can't really use it for updates or sharing news art because it doesn't really matter anymore. So the Steam It, I should actually update, is wrong. So sorry about that. But the Steam It isn't that active either. And it's not because I don't like Steam It. It's just because it's just very difficult to find time to use it right now. GAB. So we're going to stay active on GAB. If you want to be friends on GAB, I think it's a good idea. I think GAB needs to grow, and I'm willing to invest a little more time in it. Minds.com. Haven't been posting as much as I used to on it, again due to time, but it's still a very good venue. And if you guys want to start interacting on Minds, I think it's a good place. I think Minds is even better than GAB. BitChute for sure, and Twitter, that's also okay. And of course, you can also see my I have a writer page on the Hard News Network, Razor Ray McCoy. That's my name on the Hard News Network. So yeah, I want to thank you guys, whoever stuck around or whoever just joined. You can go back, watch the rest of the video. I don't know if you can rewind, but you can probably watch it when it uploads. Put it on your watch later. And can you plug bagel.com for social media? I don't think that exists, and it's probably, if it does exist, it might be just a porn site. So, but I did say it. So what do you want, man? Anyway, have a good night. Ryu Shiska, Hi Desert Pioneer. I think you were the only people that I saw in the chat today, but thanks a lot, and we'll see you later.